rotate device back like this. Is Hello, everyone. Thank y'all for coming in and joining me. This is Suzanne, and this is my channel, Love and Pieces. Thank y'all for coming in and joining me. This is Suzanne, and this is my channel, Love and Pieces. Okay, maybe I've got everything set up now. Let's see here. Okay, this is only my second time to do a live, so I'm trying to check everything out. And I'm trying to make sure I've got my camera oriented correctly. So, let's see, how can I chat with people? Where's my chat? Okay. So for y'all that are watching the replay, I apologize. It's going to have a rough start, but it takes me a second to try to figure everything out. Once I go live, I almost wish there was like a pause button, but here we are tonight. And the project I want to show you is something that I came up with on my own. This is my own creation. I'm kind of proud of it. I make a lot of A2 size cards. And the cards, I make a lot of Christmas cards too. I send Christmas cards, but then a lot of my friends and family want to buy Christmas cards to send for themselves. They like the homemade look. And so I've been looking for a way to kind of package my homemade cards to sell on Whatnot. And if y'all aren't familiar with Whatnot, we can talk about that because that's my other addiction right now. I usually package them something like this, you know, a simple little cellophane bag, and then a ribbon and a cute little label. I've not gotten a label made for this one yet, but this is typically how I bundle them up. And that's cute, but I was wanting something a little bit more. Let's see. Y'all hold on for just a second. I see that my camera is sideways, so I am going to turn this. Y'all are going to go on a little bit of a trip. And let's see if I can get my camera set up correctly. I thought I changed the orientation on the settings, but that didn't work. So we'll just go back this way. Hello, welcome in everyone. Thank y'all for hanging out with me. This is only my second YouTube live, so I'm going to make some mistakes and I'm going to have to figure them out and adjust them on the fly, but we're going to do that. So anyway, as I was saying, I'm looking for a way to package up my A2 size cards to sell on Whatnot or to give as gifts and give to people. And what I came up with is an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper that I've turned into a folio. I don't know how well you can see this, but it's got a couple little pockets, and the pockets are gusseted. I know there's a way that people make these and the pockets just fold up, and those are cute, but I really wanted something a little bit more secure that would kind of hold the cards. So this is actually a gusseted pocket that's glued in, and all of this is from one 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. So this was my template. I've made it, and we're going to make one. We're going to make the second one together and see if my measurements hold true. So the first thing I've got is an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. Let me grab out my bone folder here. And I've made my measurements over here. I made them as I was going. And so I'm going to make it this second time and make sure I've got my measurements correct. And if I didn't mention, this will actually hold 4 of the cards. So here's 2 of my Christmas cards, and they usually do have some pretty good embellishments on them. I don't make them just complete, really, really thick. I want them to go through the mail. But I can get 2 cards in each side with the envelope, and there's room for, some pretty good embellishments on it. So that's our project. That's what I'm going to be working on tonight. And hopefully I'll get a printable that I can put out on Ko-fi for y'all, or at least a measurement sheet to kind of help you make it if you want to make one. Welcome in. I'm just a girl that plays Roblox. Thank you for being here. And let's see, Mason Buckler, appreciate y'all being in here and hanging out with me. So the first thing I'm going to do, this is my 8.5 by 11. I'm going to start by scoring at 1/4 inch. And sometimes that's really hard to get to. I'm going to flip it around and do 1/4 inch on the other side. Sometimes it's easier to get to when you're not right up in that corner, or at least it is for me. So all I did was score 1/4 inch, and then I'm going to come in and I'm going to score at 5 1/4. And this is all the way down the paper. And then 5 3/4. So 5 1/4, and then 5 3/4. There we go. And then 8 1/4, which is all the way over here, just 1/4 inch shy from the edge of the paper. So that's our scoring. Now I'm going to take it. I think I can move this scoreboard out of the way. Now you're going to need your scissors. And, oh, no, we got one more score. We got the side scores. What was that one at? Let me measure this one. We got to score it a couple more times to get our bottom pocket. So I need to score it at, let's see, 6 and 6 1/4. So let's try that. So now on the short edge, I'm going to score it at 6 and 6 1/4. And that's what's going to give us that pocket at the very bottom. Now, I do think I didn't score this last time. And I think I'm going to try right here at 5 1/2, only in this bottom section where we've got this smaller score, what's going to be our pocket. I'm going to score at 5 1/2, just up to that first score line. I didn't do that in my prototype, and I think this will help me cut a straighter line doing that. So let's go over those again. I scored at 1/4 inch, then 5 1/4, 5 3/4, and then 8 1/4 across the long side of the paper. Then I flipped it, and on the short side, I scored at 6 and 6 1/4. And then I put the bottom piece with those smaller squares back up to my long side, and I scored at 5 1/2, just to that first score mark. And I know that's hard to see on this white. Let me see if I can do pencil. Maybe that'll help y'all see it. This was going to be an actual one I was going to use, but I can turn it into a template, and that might help everyone. So we scored at 5 1/4. I know, what am I saying? We scored at 1/4, at 5 1/4, then at 5 3/4, and then at 8 1/4. Then I turned it on the short side and scored at 6 and 6 1/4. And then I brought what's going to be the bottom of it up to the top and scored at 5 1/2, just to that first score line. So that's the template that we're working on right now. And now we're going to do some cutting. So the first thing I'm going to do is, on this short score line that we made, I'm going to cut up just to where it intersects that first score line. And then I'm going to go sideways here where the score line comes across just to the next score line. And the same thing on the other side. And what that's doing, it's going to release what's going to be the side of our gusset. So if you see that, it's just kind of released that little flap there. Then on the longer sides, I'm going to cut up the score line that we made just from the bottom. Actually, I probably shouldn't have done that. I probably just need to cut it here. Let me do that. Let's just cut that little snip, that little flap. Yeah. I'm going to glue that back on because I think I need to keep that part of the flap. See, this is what happens when you make things on the fly. I literally practiced this design once and got it right and then decided, okay, let's do a YouTube on it. So let me put a piece of tape over this and make that whole again because that piece I need. On your side, you just want to snip the little corner edges right there to release that little corner flap. And then the same thing on this side, just cut the corner, that little flap. And now we're going to fold. So fold everything up. Let's see. And I'm seeing now that this one, when the one in the center, we're actually going to have to snip it up to the second score line. It needs to be snipped to the second score line and snipped as well on those little tabs because that's going to let us make our pocket. Okay. So I'm going to keep folding. Get everything burnished. And this will make more sense if I can get a template up for you. But it really is a neat little folio, whether you do A2 size cards or ephemera, or even if you do junk journaling, this would be cute to tie into a journal. Hey, Kaslavic. I'm not good with YouTube names. Welcome. How are you doing? We are making a one-sheet folio. So I need something to hold my A2 size cards. And so this is what I came up with, and I'm trying to recreate it now on YouTube. But it'll hold 4 A2 size cards, and it's got this gusseted pocket, so it helps keep them all secure. So that is what we're doing. If I can do it right, that's just the question. Okay. So now I've got everything folded on the score lines. And our first place to glue is right here on this 1/4 inch flap that we made on each side. I'm just going to run in. You could use tear tape. That would work. And if my glue doesn't come out, I may have to go to tear tape. I think my glue's almost empty. Let me switch to a new one. Let me switch out my glue. I love my glue press. Do any of y'all have a glue press? It was one of my favorite purchases. I'm so glad I got it. And I'm also going to stick a pin in my cap because I think it also may be stuck a little bit. Let's put a pin in there and see if that'll open it up. Okay. There we go. All right, now let's see if I got glue. Oh, yeah. Now we got glue. And I'm just gluing that side up to the score line that we made. And because I'm folding it over on itself, you know, sometimes it's really hard to fold cardstock over on itself. I love a brayer to help crease it down and help get that glue to stick. I'm also going to move my scoreboard out of the way. There we go. And then on this side, I'm going to do the same thing. Right along that 1/4 inch flap. Just put a bead of glue. And you'll have to hold it because, like I said, folding cardstock over on itself, it takes it a second to catch. There we go. And then now we're down to our pockets. We've got the side and the middle. And I think it's easier to do the middle first. What I'm going to do is fold up each of the little flaps kind of in the center, and then the flap below it. Make sure I've got those crease marks made real good. And this is the tricky part, but I couldn't find a way around it, but it's really what makes the gusset hold. So what I want to do is lay down a bead of glue right here in this crease. And I only want to go up as far as my pocket goes. So right there on that crease. And now I'm going to take my pocket and I'm going to hold it where that piece of paper will catch in that glue line. Right there in the glue line. And take a second, let it catch, let it hold on. Because it will, you're basically just gluing that free edge of the paper down. So just give it a second. Hey, Lori, welcome in. Glad you could make it. I tell you, I was debating if I was going to do this tonight. I am really tired. I am so sleepy. I could lay my head down right now and go to sleep. So after you've got that side done, you can go ahead and do the same on the other. And again, I'm just laying a bead of glue down in that crease. Up the length of what the pocket will be. And then folding this over to hold down. If you've got a kind of a square or larger bone folder, you can put it in there. Because most bone folders are about 1/4 inch, and that's what our pocket is. And so it gives you something to press on a little bit. Yeah, power through. See if I can make it till 10 o'clock. I was always a night owl growing up. I loved to stay up late, watch movies. You know, I was always a night owl. But somewhere around age 50, I started wanting to go to bed about 9 o'clock. Like, that's my bedtime. That is my bedtime. Okay, now that we've got both of those sides glued, you can see that that's forming the gusset of our pocket. We're going to do the same thing on this side. On this side, we do have this little tab. I'm going to tuck it in first and glue it so that it has a chance to hold on the inside. So I've just put a little bit of glue on that flap, and now I'm going to fold this over like so. And I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to put down a bead of glue right on that edge. And you know, now that I'm doing this, Lori, I explained that this is a prototype. I've created the pattern myself. And I made one this afternoon. Well, actually, it was yesterday afternoon. I made it yesterday afternoon. And now I'm making it for the second time on live. I don't know what I was thinking. Now that I'm making it for the second time, I'm even coming up with some improvements I could make for the third time. I should have tried it several times. But I want something to store my A2 cards in, because a lot of people want my Christmas cards. Like when at Christmas time, they want me to make Christmas cards for them. And so what I came up with was this folio made from 8.5 by 11 that will hold 4. Maybe you might get 3 on each side if they're not very thick, but at least 4 A2 size cards. And it's a gusseted pocket, so it holds them secure and they won't fall out. So that's what I'm recreating now. And then now we're on to the other side, and we've got that same thing to do. Hopefully I'm getting it here where y'all can see it. Put just a little bit of glue on the tab and fold it over so that that catches. And then run just a bead of glue right along the edge. I may have to do version 2.0 on this. Try it again, because I think there's a better way now that I'm doing it a second time to do these edges. And then just hold it and let it catch on that edge. Oh, I messed it up. Let me see if I can get it back in line. And that is the hardest part of it, is when you're doing that edge to edge glue. I do a lot of paper quilling, and so we do a free edge glue technique, which is what gave me the idea of how to do these. Okay. And there, that's it. That's all you've got to do for your portfolio. Because we've got that 1/4 or 1/2 inch on the spine, it gives room for both of our pockets to hold and it close up. And then now you can decorate it any way you'd like. I think I'm actually going to try it my second way. I'm going to try version 2.0 right now and see if I can make it a little bit better. So let's try this again. So I'm going to start, I've got me a fresh clean piece of paper. I'm going to score it at 1/4 inch. And this is 8.5 by 11. I'm scoring it on the long side. I'm going to score it at 5 1/4. 5 3/4. And at 8 1/4. See if I can correct a couple of the ideas as we move along. Okay, now I'm going to turn it on the short side, and I'm going to score at 6 and at 6 1/4. This is where you could actually probably score it at 6 1/2 and make a deeper pocket if you wanted to get more cards in it. But I think 6, actually no, you couldn't because of the spine. So I'm going to go back to 6 1/4. Score at 6 and 6 1/4. Okay. And then if you can see, this is the bottom part of my paper where there's the smaller 2 boxes. I'm going to take this part and put it up against my scoreboard, and I'm going to score at the 5 1/2 mark up to the second score line. I used a marker the first time and it messed up with the ink, so I want to try to make this one right. So that's the bottom of my paper, the 5 1/2, and I score up just to the second score line. And now we trim. So the first thing I want to do is, on that short score mark that we just made, I'm going to take and snip that center score line all the way up to the second score line that we made. And then I'm going to turn my paper sideways and free up that little tab on both sides. So there's just a 1/4 inch tab right there. So I've freed that. I'm going to do the same thing on this side. Just free that little tab so that it's still attached. And that's the middle part there. And then on our sides, I'm going to free the little tab that we made on each one. And this is where my mind is taking me. I think there's a better way to do the side of this. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to fold my score lines, fold on my score lines at the first one and the second one. So I'm going to fold the first one, and now I'm going to fold the second one. And while that's still folded there, I'm going to come up where it meets my paper, and I'm just going to snip that side to the first score line. So what that's done is it's made a second tab right here that I can fold up to help hold my pocket. So now let's glue that and see if that does what I think it can do. So I folded up all the score lines on that side. I'm going to try it on this side before I do the other. So let's put a little bit of glue on this edge so we can do the inside of the pocket. It's much easier to do the inside of the pocket first. Tuck in our little tab. And then I'm going to run a bead of glue in that score line just up the length of the pocket so that that'll hold. And that's that edge, gluing the free edge technique. And this is where if you've got a bone folder that's about that width, you can put it in there and kind of press a little bit, help square it up. But if you've got good glue, it just takes a second. So if y'all are still in here with me, tell me where you're from. I know Lori is from Wisconsin. I catch her lives. If y'all like YouTube lives, be sure and catch Lori on it's Lori's Little Bit of Crafting, but she calls her late nights Late Night Lori. And let's see. Now is where I'm going to take this tab, put a little bit of glue on it, and I'm going to fold. Let's see. This is the side that's folding in. I'm actually going to put glue all the way up it. And then fold this over. Yeah, that gives us a closed edge on that pocket. That's a better idea. Instead of having to do the free edge on both sides. And I've got a little bit extra here. I'm just going to snip it. And I'm going to fold this side down now and create our edge. I like how this reinforces the edge of it and just makes it a little bit stiffer. I mean, you could honestly make this wider if you didn't want to fold this down, but I think it helps add stability to it to have that double layer there. And I'm just using my brayer to help it fold and help that glue catch it. Okay, so now back to the other side. Do the inside of the pocket, make sure everything's folded. I'm going to put a little bit of glue on the tab and tuck it inside. And then add the glue in the score line just up the length of the pocket. And that will help it hold. Use that score line like a channel for it. Just give it a second to hold. Okay. And then now for the outside, I forgot to free my edges, or free my little tabs. So I'm going to do that now. And then snip further up where my pocket is to give me that side. Let me get my glue stuck back again. You could use tape to help reinforce this side because the way I decorate, I'm going to actually cover that spine in a minute. So if you're having struggles with the gluing the free edge, you could just use a piece of tape to kind of go around and hold it down if you need to. Now let's go back to this side. And I've got my, oh, I didn't fold that piece. That's why it's not going in for me. I forgot to fold and burnish those edges. That's going to need a little more glue. Every time I get that one stuck, I move it and it comes undone. You just gotta be patient with it, but it'll hold. And then now to this side, I'm gonna put a little bit of glue on that little tab and then this longer tab on the side. And that should hold these two pieces together. And again, you can slip your bone folder in there to give it a little bit of space, give you some dimension to help kind of glue and press and hold. I can hear my cat at the door. She's wanting in here with me. She will not stay off my desk though. I can't let her in here with me when I'm crafting her on live because she will be right up in the middle of everything. Okay, and then just a little bit of glue on this edge to help hold it down. And then if you don't have a brayer, you can use your bone folder just to press it down and crease it really good. Again, because that's folding cardstock over on itself, you got to press a little bit harder to get the glue to stick. Give it a little bit more of a minute. And there we go. A gusseted, let's see, fold my center spines. A gusseted card holder that will hold 4 A2 size cards. Those will be great if you want to give cards as a gift. Like I said, a lot of people buy my Christmas cards, and so a way to package them, I want a nice way to package them. Now let's decorate this. That's the fun part. So I've pulled out some 6x6 paper because that's almost the right size for the front. So our actual front turns out to be, let me see here. The front ends up being 5 by 6. So I'm going to take off, put the scoreboard away, and get out our trimmer. Since this is 6x6, I'm going to take off an inch, cut it to 6x5. Right there. And we're going to put that on the front. Actually, I think I want a little bit more of a border. I think I'm going to take it down to 5 1/2. 5 1/2. Yeah, that'll give a quarter of an inch border all the way around. I like that. And now take off 1/2 inch along the top. So that'll make it 5.5 by 4.5 by 5.5. Yeah, that gives us a nice border. You could layer it all the way to the sides if you wanted to, but I want to do a little bit of a border on it. Then we'll just glue up this piece and stick it on the front. There we go. And then, let's see, we took off a 1/2 inch that will just perfectly fit that spine. So I'm going to glue that in the middle. And this is where I said you could actually use tape if you needed it to hold that, the inside of those pockets if you were struggling with that free edge, because you can put a piece of decorative paper on the inside to help cover it. And then just get in there with your bone folder to make sure it's pushed down good. And then from that same, that one's a little short, that came off the other side. This is our 6 by 6. I'm going to cut this down to 1/4 inch to go on our spine. The spine is 1/2 inch. In fact, I think I'm just going to use I'm just going to use the design as a guide to cut it. Where's my big scissors? Where did I put my big scissors? I'm just going to use, since I've got a striped design, I'm just going to go down it and use it to cut off a little bit. Because if I just measured it, it would make the design look a little wonky, I think. Yeah, and I'm going to take off this extra line on this side. There we go. Yeah. And add our glue. Because I put a border on the front, I am going to scoot it up a little bit and leave a border on the side as well, on the spine as well. This is that decorating on the fly. And I don't think I'm going to put anything on the back just yet. I've only got one more sheet like this of this paper, and I want to use it to decorate the pockets on the inside. You can always use a different style, but I think I want to keep this. I want to keep with a red plaid. And the pockets measure out to, let's see, just short of 5. So what is that, 4 3/4 maybe? So I'm going to do it 4.5 by 2. And that'll give us a border. 4.5 by 2. And I'll need 2 of those. So yeah, gives it a cute little border. I have a feeling I'm going to be making a lot of these. They're a little bit of work, but they're just really cute. I make a lot of Christmas tags. I'm making my mother-in-law a set of Christmas tags. And that would be good to put in here as well. I might have to size it. I could probably size it down a little bit for some Christmas tags. But that would be a cute way to gift those as well. There we go. And you could add some of the embellishments like your Christmas cards to make it coordinate. But if you leave it kind of plain, then it's just generic and it could be used multiple times over. So let's put in our Christmas cards. These are a set of Christmas cards I made last year. Like I said, I make my Christmas cards every year to send out, and people really seem to appreciate that handmade touch. And so they've been reaching out and wanting me to make 5 or 6 for them. Not very many. Usually if there's quite a few that they want, I'll package them a different way. But most of them just want like 5 or 6 handmade cards. And most of the things that I use are Stampin' Up, especially if it's ink or paper. I love the fact that their ink and paper coordinate. So actually the only ink I have in my craft room is Stampin' Up ink. And I think I may only have Stampin' Up paper now. I've been trying to get rid of anything that was not Stampin' Up, just so I know that they match. But as far as stamps or embellishments, any of those kinds of things, I like a lot of different stuff. But these were mostly Stampin' Up papers and cards, I believe. So there it is, a cute little folio. Again, it'll hold 4 A2 size cards, and you can even see this one has a little bit. It's got a ribbon, it's got a couple layers on it, and it easily fits in there with another one. So you can put some dimension to it, and let them have, the cards don't have to just be completely flat. They can have some dimension. Oh yes, Dora, my poor little kitty cat Dora, she's so abused, so abused. Our cats have free reign of the entire house except for my kitchen. They are not allowed in my kitchen, but they can go anywhere else. And if they come across a closed door, they feel like the world has failed them. You could even, if you wanted to, you could put some kind of little fastener on this. You could do a wrap with some Velcro or magnet. That would help hold it. But I think that's just a cute little way to either gift some cards, sell some cards, package up some of your own homemade goodies. A belly band, absolutely. Yep, absolutely. I forget about belly bands, but you're right. That would be really cute to, let's see. Yeah, it need to be wider than that. I don't have any of the other paper over here, but yeah, a really cute belly band with a nice little decoration or emblem on it. That would be cute. Very cute. Well, thank you, Lori. And I pulled out the cream because I knew I wanted to use this paper, but I think it'd be cute in green or blue, or, really match the cards that are going inside it. And in fact, I may make some cards to match this folio. These are last year's cards, and I just had them here to show. But, that makes a nice, neat little set. So hopefully that gave y'all a couple cool things to think about or to make. And I'll get a design page up and put it out in my Ko-fi shop so that you've got the measurements written down and you've got kind of a template to help you see how to make it. But I hope y'all enjoyed that. And I'm going to sign off because I think I'm going to get me a nice cup of hot tea and maybe even head to bed. It's 9 o'clock Central Time. Oh, it would, Lori, for the in colors? Absolutely. Absolutely. That would be really cool. Like I said, I made the first one yesterday. It's been in my head for a long time. I kept thinking I knew how to make it, but I'd never sat down to do it. So I made the first one yesterday, and as I keep playing with it, I may come up with improvements. I'm seeing right now, there's a little, I need to figure out how to cut the sides a little bit better. But it makes a nice little folio. So I hope y'all use this in good health. I hope you have a chance to be creative, and y'all always be nice to people. And I'll see y'all in the next one. Bye, everyone. Thanks, Lori, for being here. I appreciate you.